Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Barbara, and I am happy to be here with you again to share another lesson from our Unity Church of Austin Sunday School program. We are going to talk today about self-control. Our lesson is called Who is in Charge? And we're going to start with a story about two brothers, Tim and John. And the story is about the idea that we all have different parts of ourselves that want to take charge. So what we each have to do is choose which inner voice will be the leader in our life each day, in each moment. And our job is to keep trying to let the highest part of ourself be the part that leads us. There's a really good quote here, but I'll wait and read it after our story. Let's just jump into that first. Tim and John were twin brothers, and they were a lot alike. They looked alike, and they talked alike, and they often dressed alike. But there were a few ways that they were different. Tim loved pancakes for breakfast, and John loved waffles. Tim loved to read mystery stories, and John liked adventure stories. They both enjoyed camping, but Tim loved to camp near the lake, and John loved to camp in the woods. Their parents found the perfect place to camp, near a lake and near the woods. After a long weekend of camping fun, the boys were walking through the woods on the trail that led to their campsite when they heard a loud rustling in the bushes. Tim stopped and squeaked in a scared voice, "What is it?" John spoke calmly, but his eyes were wide. "It sounds big." In the next moment, they heard more rustling and a low growl. "Run!" yelled Tim as he took off down the trail at lightning speed. John was more than willing to follow him, but his shoelaces were loose and he was flat on the ground after a few steps. He looked behind to see what was coming out of the bushes, and he instantly recognized the huge feet and claws, the coarse brown fur, and the massive head and jaw of a bear. The bear came at him fast. There was no time to get up and run. John wanted to yell for help, but something inside him told him not to. He remembered an adventure story he read about a guy who survived a bear attack because he kept still and quiet. Bears aren't interested in things that are dead or appear to be dead. So John lay on the ground where he fell, and he kept perfectly still as the bear ran up to him and stopped with its huge head hanging over John's little head. Tim ran until he realized John was not with him. When he looked back to see the bear leaning over John, he screamed and started to go back. But as he got closer, the bear looked so huge and scary that Tim climbed up the nearest tree instead. From his perch high in the tree, he could see the bear sniffling John all over. Tim yelled, "Get out of here, bear! That's my brother, not bear food." John could feel the bear's hot breath on his neck as the bear sniffed him from head to toe. The bear made loud, snuffling noises, and the air was full of bear smell. John tried not to breathe, but he had to, a little. Inside John, there was a battle going on. Part of John wanted to cry and call for help. Part of John could hear Tim yelling and wanted to tell him to be quiet. There was even a little part of him that wanted to look up and see how big the bear's teeth were. The part of John that won the battle was the part that knew it was best to be still and hope the bear would go away. The bear reached out with its powerful paw and pushed John's leg. He felt Sharp claws ripped his pants. He didn't want to think about how scared he was and how sad his mom and dad would be if he died. So he focused on another thought. Now Tim's pants and my pants won't look alike anymore. He thought about kicking the bear in the nose. He thought of yelling, "Go away, bear." But John let his leg be pushed, just as if he were dead and couldn't move it himself. Tim kept calling and crying, "John, John, are you okay?" Then he pulled some pine cones off the tree and tried to throw them at the bear. He called for his mom and dad. They were too far away to hear. The bear nudged John with its big black nose. John felt the bear's wet nose through his shirt, and part of him wanted to say, "Go slobber somewhere else, bear." But he just lay still. The bear paused and looked around, and John suddenly thought about Tim. He wanted to look for Tim and call out to him to be quiet and stay up in the tree, but he made himself keep still and be calm. It felt like a very long time before the bear seemed to decide that there was nothing more to do, and it moved away. It stopped under Tim's tree and looked at him. Tim climbed higher, yelling all the time, "Go away, bear, or I'll come down there and beat you up. If you hurt my brother, I'll turn you into a bear rug." Tim didn't come down from the tree until he saw the bear disappear. Then he ran to John, who was slowly getting up from the ground. After Tim hugged his brother, he said, "Wow, did you see that? I scared that big old bear away. Wait till we tell mom and dad." So here are our discussion questions. Do you think Tim really scared the bear away? I think it's funny that he might have thought so, but I don't think he scared the bear away. What do you think made the bear go away without hurting John? John showed a lot of wisdom and self-control in that story, didn't he? I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know how many people I know who could have made such a wise and controlled decision. That would have been really hard. But I think that's what it was, right? He remembered that being still and quiet was what was called for in that super scary situation. What do you think was the hardest thing for John to do? I mean, I think the hardest thing for him to do was what he did. Lay there, even though, I really liked that part about the story where he kept having the battle in his thoughts of wanting to do the, wanting to yell, wanting to punch the bear, wanting to fight back, wanting to run. But he controlled his body and mind and did the thing that was the smartest, wisest course of action, right? I'm going to guess that was the hardest thing. If you had been in John's place, what would you have done? That's a tough one, huh? Our materials have a few good, more really good things that I wanted to share with you before we close. One of them is this just great quote by Aristotle that says, "Whatever we learn to do, we learn by actually doing it. Men come to be builders, for instance, by building, and harp players by playing the harp. In the same way, by doing just acts, we come to be just. By doing self-controlled acts, we come to be self-controlled. And by doing brave acts, we become brave." I don't know if I've ever thought about it that way, that, practicing behaving in a certain way in a tough circumstance is kind of like building a muscle or building a skill. And the more you do it, the more you can do it. And the more you come to think of yourself as somebody who can do that thing, like somebody who can stay calm in a scary situation. And one of the reminders that our materials give us is that self-control doesn't just mean being still or quiet. It means making a choice to do the thing that we know is right. And we can know the difference between that right choice and all the rest of the ideas that might come into our brains by listening to our true self, which is full of wisdom. Each and every one of you, each and every one of all of us is full of wisdom. And there are some things that can help us get closer to that. Listen to that voice of wisdom of God within us. Some of those tools that we can use are deep breathing, being alone for a while. Sometimes something happens that makes us really mad or really sad. And sometimes we just need to take a little time, maybe a lot of time, before we take any action, right? Prayer or affirmation. We have an affirmation with this story today, which I forgot to do at the beginning of the lesson. So we'll do it at the end. But the affirmation is, I am in charge of my body and in charge of myself. That's an excellent affirmation, isn't it? There's some other really good ones in here. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I am calm. I am poised. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. Those are some great words to memorize, and so that you can use them as tools in your toolkit whenever you need them. The kind of thing that if you remind yourself of it enough times when you're nice and calm, then when some situation comes up, because those things always do come up in our lives, we can use them. We can use them to make good decisions, to make good choices, to remember how wise we are. Okay, let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to. Oh, there's just this one last thing, but I think I just covered it. It was talking about how, strong emotions can make self-control difficult. Feeling really scared, like in this story, or really angry, or even really excited, right? That those things can make self-control difficult. So that's why it's so important to practice self-control when we're not feeling those strong emotions, so that when those times come up in our lives, we have great words, great tools, great reminders of our own wisdom that we can call on. So that's it. That's it for today. I think let's do our affirmation 3 times, and then we'll end with our prayer for protection and our blessing. So, affirmation is, I am in charge of my body and in charge of myself. Can you say it with me? I am in charge of my body and in charge of myself. I am in charge of my body and in charge of myself. Ready to pray? The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. And the presence of God watches over me wherever I am. God is, and all is well. So, your Unity Sunday school teachers, bless you. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you. I hope you're each doing well. I hope that you know that the church is opened back up for at least a couple of times a month. I got to be there in person. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago now, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful to see, to be back and to see everybody's smiling faces and to see how much everybody has grown in these couple of years that we've been doing Sunday school via Zoom. And I hope to see more of you soon. And until next time.